Hello and welcome back to Streaming Media Connect 2025. I'm Steve Nathans Kelly, Editor-in-Chief of Streaming Media and the Chair of Streaming Media Connect. And you have now joined us for our first great debate of the week. And on the topic of, is premium live sports streaming hurting sports fandom? In just a minute, we're gonna divide up into two teams and they're gonna just go at it in this debate for a good hour, and then at the end of the hour, stick around to the end because we'll push out a poll and you will pick the winner. And it's winner take all, whatever that means. So just a few housekeeping notes before we get into the debate. At the end of the session, we'll also be giving away a $50 gift card to the first person who correctly named the track and the artist you were just hearing, but you must be present to win. So don't go anywhere. So feel free to chat amongst yourselves in the chat, and we will have a portion of the debate where the moderator will be firing some questions at the debaters coming from the audience. So put those questions in the Q&A. Sessions from all 3 days of Stream Media Connect this week will be on the Streaming Media YouTube channel sometime over the next few days. And that link should be in the chat as well. And join us back here May 20th to 22nd for the next Streaming Media Connect. The call for speakers is open now, and it might still say February up there, but if you put in your suggestion for a topic and if you just want to be a panelist and join the fun here, I will get that. I will get a notice about that, and it'll go into the thinking for the planning of the next event over the next couple of weeks. Yeah, I think that's all. That is all for me. So I would like to welcome to the stage our moderator, Michael Frank, Principal Analyst from Omdia. Michael, welcome.
Thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here, and I can't wait to get started and have a rousing debate. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to just turn it all over to you now. Let's have a great debate.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. Welcome, everyone. And as Steve had said, our debate topic is premium live sports streaming hurting sports fandom. We're going to have two sides. We're going to have two sides, and each arguing for their particular side. I'm going to introduce everyone in no particular order. First, we're going to have Joe Caporoso, president of Team Whistle. Come on, Joe. Next,
hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Next, we have Jason Thibeault, CEO of SVTA.
Yo.
Next, we have Sunil Joy, head of content at eVision. Come on down.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Next, we have Corey Smith, Deputy General Manager, Media Enabled Services at Tata Communications. Corey.
What's happening?
Thanks for everyone for hopping on, and thank you for joining us. I look forward to having a great debate, and let's get going. The two sides that we're going to have today are, we're going to have Corey and Jason on the side that says premium live sports is hurting sports fandom, and Joe and Sunil will argue for the side that premium live sports is not hurting sports fandom. So yay streaming.
You mean they're on the side of fake news? Sorry, it's all fake news. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
you got that.
news, exactly.
Right. Oh, coming out swinging.
So we have defined sides here. Although if we want to switch sides and things go off the rails, that's perfectly fine. I'm happy to go where this conversation goes, as long as it's all entertaining and makes for good streaming TV, because that's where the future is, right? In streaming, is that the whole point of this? I guess, unless something groundbreaking comes up in the next 24 months that blows streaming out of the water. But for right now, we'll go with streaming as the future until we see otherwise. So I think what we want to do first is why don't we just have Jason and Corey kind of maybe give out a initial remarks about their side, maybe kind of give an opening remarks. Is that cool, Corey and Jason?
Sure.
Yeah,
Jason, would you like to? You should go first.
Absolutely. I'm happy to go first. So
Great.
Anybody who thinks that sports rights is not hurting fandom, you're living in fantasy land. Ridiculous, right? So let's get that straight first. Number one thing, you're forcing people to spend money on subscriptions just to get their sports. Boom, done. Like that is the crux of the issue. Obviously, that's hurting people. What does that equal? 15+% CDN leaching, theft, security, all that problems. Rights holders are losing money. So anyway, that's all I got to say on that. Corey.
I would agree, man. I want all the eyeballs on my platform. I want to control the ads. I want to control the messaging to you. I want to program my thoughts and feelings to you. I don't want these streaming entities out there stealing all my viewership and kind of this, the all the subscriptions to your point. Like my viewership doesn't want any of that. They don't want to have 15 different subscriptions to watch their sports. They just need to come back here to the king.
We're going to make sports great again.
Make sports great again. Thank you.
And how are we going to do that? I mean, that's something, one of the topics we're going to hit at. What is the end game here? Are we trying to, are we going to go back in time when there was only 3 broadcast stations and Fox was kind of a network at the time? Are we going to go back in time? Is back in time the future?
Why fix something that wasn't broken? That's all I'm going to say.
It's an interesting comment. It's an interesting comment, and I'm there for you. But these other two guys might think otherwise. Joe, you want to give an opening statement on your side? Where is this going? What's your thoughts? What can you deny these two other gentlemen their future?
Yeah, I think this is a bit of an oversimplification of the topic. I think it's good that we're seeing more competition and more people getting involved in finding better and creative ways to distribute sports. All the different sport leagues are expanding out in their own ways. There's more games in an NFL season. There's things like the NBA in-season tournament. There's more sports becoming more mainstream. There's more niche sports popping up, and to just funnel it into the same traditional model it's always been in leaves opportunity on the table for consumers to have different options and different ways to take advantage of all the extra sports that are out there now for them to consume. And I think, as you look at some of the different things that streamers will be able to do from a fan engagement perspective and from different ways they actually distribute the game and dial into ways to improve that experience for fans, I think added competition and added partners for the various leagues and sports is only a positive thing.
Good points. Good points. Sunil, what do you think? Let me hear it. What do you think
I think
this
it's
is going?
just adding on to what Joe was saying. We can't have the ostrich syndrome and pretend that everything is hanky-dory. When we look around, the entire viewing experience and how people consume content has changed, and it's only meant for sports to get on the same bandwagon and try and catch up with it. So again, like Joe said, I think the biggest advantage you have is there are so many of these federations and sports that want to basically reach out to a wider audience. It cannot be restricted to, certain geographical areas. There are sports that can actually travel across the world. And what streaming will do it right, I think, will also be the fact that making it accessible to a wider audience. I think that's something that will eventually help, the subscription models come and reach an equilibrium. But at this point, I think it's headed in the right direction, and we should be seeing some great progress. We should benefit sports.
Well, let me ask you.
I want to comment to that right away. I want to comment. No way, right? So geo restriction is what is killing sports fandom. So what happens with rights holders? Rights holders are going to start to go, look at me, I'm so important. Everyone wants to love my sport. Everyone wants to watch it. So they start selling it in micro doses to all these different geos, and they block everybody out who's not in that geo. And so now you have a situation where me, the fan, what am I left to do? Let's pull up the VPN. Boom. All right. Oh, why should I pay for that service? I'll just steal it from somebody else. That is where sports rights have gone totally off the rails. I'll give you, competition's great. But is there too much competition? Is not a good thing? Absolutely think so.
Consumers getting hit in the wallet. I mean, the whole point of streaming was to kind of stop from consumers having to pay a lot of money for their high-priced cable packages, right? You got to pay for internet. You got to pay multiple packages for your streaming, and by the time it's all said and done, you're looking at the same price as a cable package. So, aren't we supposed to alleviate fans from having to pay high prices? That was the whole point of streaming, right? So, I mean, where is this going? Am I going to keep paying out of the nose for high price streaming packages so I can watch every single sport? Is my wallet? Am I not gonna be able to pay for my kids' braces because I got to watch every NFL game? I mean, when is enough enough? Am I gonna have to keep paying?
I think
Where's this going?
I think, Michael, to answer that question, they should also be probably also seeing a price elasticity of demand here. So there are markets where you have seasons passes, you've got monthly, you've got weekly. In our region, for instance, now we've got the Champions Trophy that's currently running. We actually had a day pass for it. So again, it's basically making it available, and it's only the streaming services that can actually adjust their pricing depending on what is it that the market can afford to pay. So it is, in a way, it is an advantage. And I think it is about finding or striking the right balance in terms of pricing. Because if you look at the traditional cable bundling, everything was bundled into one single package. And whether you like it or not, you end up paying out of your nose. You have a commitment. You have to make sure that you have a subscription that runs an entire month, or in some cases, it's an annual subscription. Now we have flexible payment options. So it becomes a lot easier.
So
especially, but more expensive.
Yeah.
Yes. I just want to get together with my buddies on the weekend, watch some football, drink a few beers at the bar. They've got DirecTV. It's from the sky. Like, you can't go wrong. These guys barely have Wi-Fi. How are you going to stream it? You know, if these guys can't even get an internet connection. Like, this whole internet thing is all kind of a fad. Like, check email, do that. Yeah. Come on.
Then we have the internet package. I mean, are the ISPs that good? What if we just drop cable? Is the internet going to be the 5G? Is it really going to connect everyone in the country? Is the Wi-Fi signal going to be good? If I go, 5 miles in the opposite direction, am I going to lose a signal? What if I'm betting and I can't bet that last bet? Am I going to lose everything? I can't change my bets. What am I going to do? Is the internet that good where it will make up the difference of losing my cable?
No. Let's lay that one to bed right now. I think at last spec, Sandvine maybe predicted about 14,000 plus terabits per second capacity in the internet. Like, man, if you had like 300 million people watching something at 3.5 megabits per second, that's it. That's the end of the capacity on the internet. The internet cannot support large scale, huge concurrent workloads. I mean, we saw that with the Tyson Paul fight in Netflix, right? They stumbled. Hey, they fixed it. That's fantastic. But what happens when it's 120 million people next time? That kills fandom, right? I can't watch my sports. Broadcast built on standard technology is bulletproof. OTA, bulletproof. Like, this is the way people want to watch. It's like, Corey, man, I just want to sit down, turn the TV on, and it works. I don't want to be like, oh, dude, spinning beach ball, man, give me another beer. Like, that kills fandom.
Isn't digital the future? Isn't digital delivery the future? Isn't the delivery, instead of a signal in the sky, or those big, huge oil derrick towers that are ruining my neighborhood? I can't go out and play because there's this big, huge broadcast tower.
You're gonna get cancer from that.
Isn't that dead technology? Isn't digital delivery the future?
But the signal's already digital.
That cloud thing in the sky, that thing.
Everybody went digital already. It's already digital. I mean, just because it's QAM, it's just pushing the digital signal. It's all digital. That's no big deal, right? We can ship everything over IP. We can do IPTV. That's okay too. But the point is it's through the broadcast channels, not through this proliferation, crazy explosion of streaming services where if I want to watch my hockey and my ping pong and my synchronized horses and all this, like, I got to pay like $15 a month for each and every one of those. That's nuts. So I'm going to steal it.
5G, 10G. I'm not going to gather around my phone to watch sports. That's just not going to happen. That's not a thing. And I can't even watch it in 4K, so it doesn't really matter.
Corey, I think 5 years back, we couldn't have even thought that sports could have actually been streamed. So we have seen it actually progress. Technology was making it happen. Now, yes, again, the bandwidth capacity and how many concurrent users can you use? Look at the example of India when they have the cricket, for instance. They keep setting record after record. They keep doing it, and they keep improvising, and they keep getting it right. So yes,
but it's largely on mobile.
Technology will allow them to do it.
Largely on mobile device. I don't want to watch my football on mobile. I want to see it on a big screen.
You can. What's stopping you from being on it? But then, are you ignoring? Are you forgetting there is a generation that's coming into sports, and unless you give it to them where they want to see it, they are not going to catch on to it. And I think,
I think that's a really
die out.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, that the way younger people are consuming sports is just flatly different than how people consumed it 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I think getting ahead of where that audience is consuming it, because even if we don't like watching it periodically on the phone or on the go, we are seeing sport fans now who will watch it in shorter increments and do want that accessibility wherever they go. We're also still in the early days here. So I think from a price perspective, just like you saw with cable, you're going to gradually see different bundling options that are going to make these things more cost effective while giving you that many more different places and locations to consume all these different sports. And again, as the world of sports widens, this is going to open an easier path to creating more sports fans. It's going to be more widely accessible to people in different generations.
Cord cutters, right?
That's what I argue with this. I argue.
I think they call them cord cutters. Is that what they call them? I think I heard that phrase somewhere before. Cord cutters. Is that really a thing? Is that real?
I want to argue
like the
this
numbers tell the story. Even if we can't deny that there are no cord cutters. Why is everyone cutting the cord here?
No, I want to argue this whole younger generation watches sports differently. I live in Texas. I'm at the bar. There's like 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds in there. They're all watching big screen sports on TV. Like that's where all this, like they just want to watch on their phones. No, I disagree with that. People want to watch sports in the best screen possible, and that's television. That's big screen. It's big. It looks big. I want to see my players. I don't want them to look like this, where I have to squint at them. I want to see them like, yeah, that's Messi. Ooh, look at that goal. Like that's what I want to see.
The younger kids really care about that. They're on the go. They're doing activities. They're going here. They're going there. The football game comes on. The cricket match comes on. Hey, look, I'm watching it on my phone. I don't care if it's a big screen or a small screen, as long as I have access. Isn't that the whole idea? Access. It doesn't matter where I am, whether I'm 150 miles out in the rural area or in the middle of a downtown area of a city. As long as I have access, that's all that really matters. Isn't that the case? That's why they call them cord cutters, because they cut the cord and I got my phone. Doesn't matter if I'm in front of my TV at home or I'm on the go. Isn't that the whole point? Isn't that why cord cutters are changing the industry?
You could talk about cord cutters all the time, but I guess my point being is if you're really into sports, like you can hardly tell anymore where your sport's going to be played at, because the market's so fractured with all the media rights deals going on that like you need a subscription for this one and you need a subscription for that one. You can only watch certain leagues during certain times of the year over here, but you get to watch it over here full time. It's like we're training the consumers to be completely schizophrenic about where their content lies.
And I think, Corey, we've seen this, right? I mean, and if you look back in time, when we moved from traditional, satellite, not satellite, terrestrial television to satellite television, from satellite television came cable operators who did the aggregation and started putting everything into one box. And the same thing is going to happen for streaming as well eventually. So you will start seeing people putting it together and bundling it together. But in technology-wise, there are a lot of other things that streaming brings, which again is, if you want to address the next generation, you need to start giving content where they want to watch it and how they want to watch it. It's going to be, sports like cricket, for instance, it's going to be very impossible.
But streaming is leading to millions and millions of dollars a year in piracy because everybody's picking it off the wire. Nobody has any ownership or access rights anymore. It's just like, okay, well, if we could prove through our Nielsen, deal that we had so many people watching over satellite or a cable subscription, we have no idea what's happening on the internet side. So it's all just lost money on the table. We might as well put bundles of cash on pallets and just light it on fire.
And so Neil, you talked about fragmentation. Like fragmentation, we're talking about right now. So the debate is sports rights hurting fandom right now? So maybe it's not going to hurt it in 10 years, but right now it is sucking the life out of fandom.
I think, Jason, if we start looking at defining fandom and saying that fans are just this particular age group, then it will be skewed in one particular direction. I think we need to look at a much wider audience here. There is a younger generation. There is a much bigger generation that's actually getting on to like sports. And they are not. Like, for instance, if my kid wants to watch cricket, it's not going to sit through 8 hours of cricket. Probably would want to see the highlights, want to catch on to it, come online when the last 15 overs or the last 10 overs are being bowled. That's exactly how this generation wants to do it. They are so used to watching snackable content and short format. You cannot, and you will have to make sure that you adjust how the content is delivered so that it suits their needs and requirements. And traditional broadcasts cannot do that.
Well, what are some of the things that streaming will bring? What are some of these advancements in fandom that will allow fans to say, you know what, this streaming is a good thing. There's all the things I can get through streaming that I can't get through traditional over-the-air broadcast or cable. What are some of those things that we'll get to see as a result of the streaming? What are some of the, you know, extra added features that we can get that will allow us to be more engaged in the sport? What are some of those things they can put on screen or that we can engage in more? What are some of those options?
I think the first thing, most important one, is the fact that you can actually watch it anywhere, anytime, and on multiple devices. That was previously not possible. You want to leave in between a match, you want to get out, go pick up a beer and come back, you can do it. Earlier, you'll have to be on the phone, speak to the wife, find out what's happening, or somebody on your friends saying that what's going on.
Broadcast with a PVR. Like, I got a personal PVR. Boom! I just hit pause. Like, I go get my beer, I come back.
You want to wait? You want to wait for somebody else, your neighbors, to celebrate a goal?
I've never had that happen.
Come on, I
always buck that use case. I bucked that one.
You're not going to do that. You probably want to continue doing it. You want to continue doing what you need to do.
The latency on streaming is going to cause you to actually hear your neighbor scream for the big touchdown when you're still watching it on delay because your stream has been buffering.
Yeah, we know that. See, latency is there. Latency is something that has improved over a period of time. What was latency a few years back is not what it is today, but we're getting there again. That's something that technology will allow us to improve.
Sure.
But doesn't mean that that's going to be the challenge.
I also think you'll continue to see, with more streaming, an influx of other engagement options and tools for fans to use. That can be different versions of altcasts, that can be different games, betting, polling that takes place in more of an active environment around these games. I think, again, looking to an audience that regularly consumes this stuff in sort of a second screen environment, and that is going to be looking for other ways to engage and other ways to consume it versus a traditional way of watching sports. I think the streamers will be more conducive to those type of options, to providing a bit of a different, more immersive experience. Never mind as you start getting into more potential VR, AR integrations and other different technology that's going to be coming down the pipe.
So are we already seeing that with cable? I mean, we have that. There's different kind of casts. We have the Manning cast, and there's other different versions of. There's like 4 different versions of the NCAA football championship. So isn't cable already doing that? Isn't there more of a competition? I mean, cable.
Hold on. We're not talking about streaming versus broadcast. That's not what the debate's about. The debate's about sports rights, right? So yes, rights are more conducive to deliver via streaming platforms because you can carve them up by geos. Like, that's the problem. So the question's not streaming. No, streaming's definitely better experience, cooler stuff, awesome. Cable sucks at it, whatever. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about sports rights. And so when you start having sports rights holders sell their rights to streaming platforms, is that screwing fandom? I say the answer to that is yes. Streaming itself is fantastic. That is probably the way it's going to be delivered. Like, I mean, look where I sit. I'm in streaming video technology lines. Of course I'm going to say that. But sports rights, that's hurting the fan because of everything Corey talked about, which is all about fragmentation. I got to go here to get this. I got to pay to get this, do this. So the concept of I'm a sports league and I have rights to all this. I can sell to everybody. It's no longer carriage deals to a local broadcaster. It's whoever I want to sell it to. That's hurting fans.
So basically, you can sell it to a guy who's got a CB radio out of his house. I mean,
he's got the money.
Well, and that's the thing. It's as the marketplace continues to fragment because of these licensing deals, you have to put more and more money into it because now we're chasing it to the bottom, so to speak, on trying to be everywhere for everyone to everything. And all of a sudden, you're not going to be able to support those sports rights deals because they're so astronomically out of touch with reality that the traditional broadcasters won't be able to actually renew their deals with certain leagues and entities. And it's going to be whoever has the most money wins.
Well, let me ask you this, and I'm going to throw this out to all 4 of you guys. There are some teams in local markets that are cutting deals with, they're pretty much going back in time, right? They're cutting deals with their local over-the-air pay broadcasters, and at the same time as cutting deals with their local TV station, their local DMA, they're also creating their own OTT platform. So in essence, they're taking their future in their own hands, right? They're streaming on their own without any big streamer. They're kind of creating their own platform. At the same time, they're getting that massive reach from going to direct over-the-air broadcast. So we're going back in time, but at the same time, we're going into the future by having our own streaming platform. So we're getting the best of both worlds. So what do you think about that approach? What do you think about that strategy, about teams taking their own media rights into their own hands and not leaving it up to big tech companies? They're pretty much creating little mini media companies in their own right, right? So they're getting back with the community. They're getting back with the community, going onto a local TV over-the-air broadcaster in their DMA, and having their own OTT. So you can get streaming, you can get over-the-air broadcast. You get the best of both worlds. What do you think of that strategy?
Well, the artisan stuff is kind of, it's been messy. Let's just, call a spade on that front for the last, I don't know, 5+ years. So on top of the sports RSN issues, now what if I live in Dallas, Texas, and I want to watch Seattle Seahawks as an example? I can never watch the Seattle Seahawks because I will never get it in my local market. And I'll have regional blackouts if I try to watch it online in certain areas. So you're still we're going back to this archaic DMA kind of carve up the world kind of thing, because it's all based on your ad revenue bands in different regions. So from that standpoint, nobody wins. I can't watch whatever I want to watch when I want to watch it, because I'm now restricted to all of the access rights holders on who's doing what.
Well, that's again the geo tracking, right? If you're in the Seattle DMA, you try and watch the Dallas OTT, they're like, you know what, you're not in our market. Blackout rules apply, and that's another thing that's killing fandom, in my opinion, is the blackout rules, right?
Right.
I mean that
need to get rid of all that stuff. If you want to watch, the Texas Rangers, by all means, be a Texas Rangers fan and buy an a la carte subscription to watch your team at every single stadium in the country. But you can't really do that, because you're restricted by the regional networks, and then you're also going out and now you're spending money on, MLB packages to watch every single game, but now you're paying $300-400 for that package a year.
Yeah, it's so messed up. It really is, when you think about, you can't just deliver content into every area you want, because the local broadcaster also has rights deals and carriage rights for that area. And so you go to watch your online stream and it's like, I'm sorry, this is blacked out. You have to go watch it on channel 14. You're like, channel what? So again, sports rights hurting fandom.
I go to a bar, I'll watch channel 14 there.
Exactly. I go with all the kids are there. So for me, it's great.
Now again, but this is very specific to market, guys. I think you should be looking at some of the markets where the streaming has actually brought down the prices. They have actually blended in with AVOD. They've actually started making it available at no extra cost to customers. And again, there is an opportunity to tap in there. Also, look at the investments that's gone into these, a lot of these sports rights by the streaming services, which goes back into sports, making it available. There are sports that previously did not travel outside a certain region that's now traveling globally. So there is plus and minus to it. Again, each market is reacting depending on how much the consumers can spend. And that's always been the price elasticity of demand.
Moderator, I have a question. Sunil is making way too good of points. Can we censor him for 5 minutes? Just logic does not belong in a debate.
Hey,
can we just mute him?
Jason, are you telling me how to do
I can mute myself.
Are you telling me how to do my job? It's a free society here. Everyone has an opinion, and that's how it's going to work.
That's cable talking.
I'm going to ask all of you also. I mean, there's been a lot of subscription growth amongst the streamers, and a lot of big ones compared to paid cable. Do you think, is that a direct correlation to the fact that streamers are now buying sports rights? I mean, especially Netflix. Can we correlate that to the fact that Netflix is spending a lot of money on sports? Amazon Prime is spending a lot of money on sports. Paramount Plus, Peacock, Apple TV. Is that a direct correlation to the fact that sports is one piece of content where people will never be bored of it? It's going to keep growing and growing and growing. Is that it? Is sports the only piece of content left where people will pay for?
It's not about that. It's all ad revenue. Think about it. VOD, you can't guarantee there's going to be millions of people watching VOD at the same time. And it's when you get a mass of people that you can actually get really good CPMs, because you get much better targeting. So that's what, why wouldn't I lean into sports if I was Prime or Netflix or whoever? If I can pull 30 million people concurrently in to watch something, my CPMs are going to go to the roof. I'm going to be selling ads big time. And that's what it's about. It's not just that people want to watch sports, it's the fact that they are the biggest moneymaker.
You all know that ad revenue drives everything, right? But wasn't that the whole point of streaming, is to get away from ads? But that was cable TV, that was broadcast. Wasn't the whole initial idea of streaming to get away from ads so people didn't have to sit through commercials? Wasn't that the whole idea? Joe, what do you think from a streaming perspective?
I mean, look, I don't disagree. I think there is a huge monetization opportunity here. There's not as much what we would call appointment viewing anymore, right? With how balkanized distribution is and how people consume different styles of content. I think, yes, you are seeing a continued investment due to some of the upside and consistency that an audience brings around live sports, which is sort of the last sort of appointment viewing around different major tentpole events, around different major fandoms. And I don't think it's, crazy that major streamers would try to take advantage of that. I think it is on them to continue to look at creative ways to make the advertising experience less intrusive on the fan. And I think they'll continue to have, different ways that they test against it. But I don't think you're going to see investment on sports or sports rights generally slow down, because I think, like what you said, there is a large consistent monetization opportunity there that's not quite as volatile as some of the different VOD approaches, when people are just consuming content in too many different places and in too many different ways. And now you have a huge, subsection of people who may just be using YouTube as sit back watching, when that wasn't even a factor to mix in.
Yeah, well, and because of the ad generated, legacy model of sports and television in general, you're not making up the money on the difference with subscriptions on streaming packages and services of that nature to make up what you're spending on the overall media rights deal to begin with.
So we pretty much need the ads to make it. We need the people's consumers' money to make up the money that they're paying for the rights in general. That's the only way to make up that money, right?
If $4 a month for a streaming service isn't going to make the $10 billion media rights package turn over and be profitable.
So let's take this back.
Let's take this back to the point of this debate: sports rights hurting fandom. So you got sports rights, expensive, streaming company buys it, charging people money to watch it, doesn't make enough money. Let's throw ads in there. So now you're pissing off your fan by just layering in a bunch of ads and monetization, because you need to make money against the amount of money you spent to get the rights in the first place. If we didn't have that problem, they're just available through traditional broadcast, well, we wouldn't have that problem.
So what's the end game here, right? Where is this all going? We don't know that streaming is the hot button content, the medium of the time of right now. But are we 10, 15, 20 years out where this is actually going to move? I mean, we know that broadcast isn't going to go anywhere for the immediate future. We know pay cable isn't going to go anywhere because there's still too much money to be made. There's too much revenue streams coming in from carriage fees and from ad revenue. So we know that's not going anywhere. Streaming is the new kid on the block. And we know that media companies are now owning broadcast networks. They own cable channels and they own streamers. So what is the end game here? Is there one medium going to win out over the others? I mean, 20 years from now in the future, I'm going to ask you guys to play crystal ball here. Where is this going? What does the future look like for streamers? What does it look like for sports rights? Are streamers going to be the only thing left when the dust settles? Go.
If you ask me, I think streaming platforms look at sports on two ways. One is, of course, the engagement and the monetization opportunities. But most important, it's the best for acquisitions. Again, it can drive consumer acquisitions. If you're spending $1 million in marketing, you might as well pick up a sport event that costs you $1 million, and it'll get you the equivalent in terms of subscriber numbers. So finding the right price point and letting the market settle the price based on demand is going to happen in the short run itself. So you're going to start seeing a point where hybrid models of AVOD supported sports streaming platforms are actually going to dominate over all the other traditional and legacy platforms. This is what it's heading to. And if we think that we can't see it, we are looking in the wrong direction.
Well, but I would counter that and say, we have seen the AVOD services. We've seen the VOD and the traditional VOD providers doing a lot more live. But I would also say that ISPs are really the cable companies today, right? There has to be this fundamental shift of like, okay, everybody's going to move into streaming because we're not doing the cable operators can't make any money because they can't sell any packages any longer. The direct TVs of the world can't figure out how to get their boxes out of the way, right? So you still have to deal with this like physical infrastructure in the home for cable and satellite television delivery. And your point is everything is going to go to streaming. Sure, great, but at the end of the day, like you need to do a fundamental shift of like the media and television industry in general, and saying, okay, well, we're not going to do this traditional linear model anymore, and we're not going to fraction the audience between cable and linear. It's all just going to be streaming, right? So that's the only way I think personally that you can basically say, okay, all your eggs are now in this basket over here, as opposed to having them split across these different buckets anymore.
So we're gonna have to create one standard for everybody, whether it's over the air, whether it's streaming, but there's gonna have to be a standard, and one standard is gonna win out. Like we've seen with old technology back in the day, VHS, Betamax, somebody's gonna have to win, right? Jason,
well, I don't think the technology is in question, right? So it's cheaper to deliver via IP. That's the fundamental shift that's been happening in broadcast for the past 30 years, right? Just go to NABs, right? That's halls filled with shift to IP, SMPTE 2110, like get SDI. Let's get to this point where we can just learn, because let's face it, it's easier to get content around the country when you're not going up and down a satellite link, right? It's just cheaper. So everyone's moving that direction. Okay. Well, once it's in IP, then it's just a matter of consumption. So do you deliver it via the traditional broadcast infrastructure? You can do that. You can go from IP to signal, right? You can go right out. Corey can talk about that. Corey built that. Like, so this is all possible to do, but the fundamental thing is it's going IP. Everything's going to be in bits and bytes. And then what we do with it after, that's a whole different question. But again, it brings up this question of sports rights, right? So is this model of I'm a league, I'm a team, I'm going to sell my rights to all these different places and different, it's going to continue to create problems. It needs to get solidified, and that fragmentation needs to be reduced in order for it to create an experience where it's uniform for fans. Like that's what broadcast was so great about television, right? You turned it on. It was the same thing if I sat in my home and turned it on, or if I went down the street and I turned it on at my friend's house. It's the same sports experience. I agree, streaming provides awesome new immersive experiences, multi-view, all this stuff. Yeah, this is awesome. Well, the problem is, what happens if sports rights go to a platform that can't do that in my area, but my friend living 300 miles away is in a region they can do it because he's on a different platform? That screws the fan. So we've got to fix this problem, and Corey mentioned it. Like we got to fix the media distribution broadcast business model.
I think that, and Jason, you make another great point too. Like when we look at traditional television, you look how sports is created. Everything on screen has got a sponsorship logo. You can't do that in a streaming only world that is non-ad supported, because you're never going to sell the subscriptions to make it work.
I just think it feels inevitable that there will continue to be some level of increasing fragmentation. There are just too many more games being added, and there's been too much upside seen from Christmas Day games, NBA in-season tournament, all these other additive things that are coming to the different leagues, and they've generally been considered a success so far. It hasn't been perfect for the people who have invested into the rights, but they're only going to get more comfortable. Sport fans are only going to get more adjusted to now saying, okay, I expect to see 3 NFL games on Christmas every day. That's part of what I expect. And there's just going to be more opportunities for different streamers and stakeholders to continue to divide up an increasingly bigger pie, not just from the major sports leagues, but from other sports leagues globally. Because there's been some intriguing early case studies. People initially have sort of a negative visceral reaction to a streamer coming in and taking an extra game wildcard weekend, but then ultimately people adjust to being happy there's an extra game wildcard weekend, or there's extra games on Christmas Day, or there's an extra in-season tournament that players have to care about. And I just think it's inevitable we're going to see more of that, not less of that.
So here in the US,
yeah,
here in the US, you think that the value, as we keep seeing leagues and the value of leagues and the value of teams constantly increasing year after year, are we going to see a bubble burst in the sports rights area, or are these values going to keep increasing and increasing, and then media companies and streamers will keep paying for the rights because that's what will bring in the eyeballs, right?
But that's what I'm saying. I agree with Joe. Like I agree that this is like more games, more sports, good for fans. It's just when like NFL gets into their head, hey, let's create some other games in this location or on this date, and let's sell the rights to somebody. Put them out to bid. Who's going to win it? Is it going to be Amazon? Is it going to be NBC? Who's going to win? Like, and it's all about money. And when leagues chase money, it hurts the fans because they're making decisions not based on what's good for the fan. They're making decisions on what's good for their wallet. Like, and that hurts fans. And so that's why this whole sports rights thing of like selling to everybody, selling to the highest bidder, it creates such a division within the experience of sports that it ultimately hurts those fans. So I'm all with you, Joe. I'm all for, these are awesome. I love Christmas games. I love these little in-between leagues. Look what the NHL just did with the Four Nations tournament. Wow, it was awesome. That is fantastic. I want to see more of that. But it's got to be delivered in a way that is separate from this let's sell rights to the highest bidder thing, because it just, again, it just fragments the whole experience.
Yeah. I mean, look at like what ESPN Plus was out to do, right? The only reason why they did the whole ESPN Plus is because they had all this content and they had nowhere to put it because the cable operators were basically blocked on space, right? You can't spin up a new linear network every single time you have a new chapter in your evolution of the ecosystem. So ESPN Plus is born, right? Then you have Paramount Plus, then you have whatever plus down the road, right? And there's now sports where it's only streaming online, where you can't actually watch it in traditional television land, right? So that is splintering that offering as well. But I would go back and say, how profitable has ESPN been by providing all of that extra additional sports? Are they really selling a lot of ESPN Plus subscriptions that actually cover the cost of backhauling it to a central facility, encoding it, streaming it, getting it to the platform, the application development that takes place in that ecosystem to keep relevant features, kind of there for people to plug into? Like, it, to me, it's a fascinating story of how sports needs to evolve ultimately.
You make a good point, Corey, and about having not enough space to add another channel. I mean, just recently, Major League Baseball and ESPN appear to be heading towards a divorce as far as sports rights, because it's just not profitable enough for ESPN to keep carrying Major League Baseball, and they've been making it lower and lower of a priority for over the last few years for baseball. And and MLB is probably going to go out to TNT, who just lost the NBA, or whoever else is out there, whoever the new streamer is. Maybe Netflix wants to double down, or Apple TV wants to double down on MLB rights, or they'll just put everything on their own internal platform. So I mean,
so does that mean you have to now, if the MLB goes to TNT, that you have to get a TNT Plus subscription now to watch it there?
Well, possibly. Right? Maybe
like,
that's
you're
where
just
this is going.
Money around. It's like 3-card money on the streets of New York.
I mean, it's all about content, right? And Major League Baseball has had a long history. Maybe they just put more of it on their own platform, MLB Extra Innings or whatever it is. Maybe it's just they create something new. Maybe there's a new platform that we haven't seen yet. Maybe there's a new way of delivery. Maybe that's where I'm headed. Where is this all going? Maybe streaming is the future. Maybe paid cable is going to collapse tomorrow, and everyone has to go out and pay an ISP an extra set of money just to get their favorite channels. I don't know where this is going, but what's the end game? Do we really know what the end game is here? Is there an end game, in your opinion, Corey?
Personally, I think it's still a wait and see game to see kind of what happens, what kind of transpires. I mean, if you look at the cord cutters, somebody mentioned it earlier, like at some point, Comcast, Cox, if they don't have a diversified portfolio of stuff, and these are fairly large, companies doing this stuff, if they don't have enough cable television subscribers, they're not going to be able to provide the content because they can't pay for the licensing deals. So, it's a crumbling market. And frankly, as we've seen the cord cutter kind of acceleration, I don't know when it's actually going to collapse, but at some point, if we don't change the way we look at the business, it'll fracture and it'll crumble.
Jason, same question. What's the end game here?
I just want to follow on that for a second, actually. Like, just thinking again about sports rights. So the end game can't be sell the rights for as much money as possible, right? So what happens if it's a really popular sport and some streamer goes, I'll pay $10 billion for that? league's like, yeah. And then the sport goes, and we got to charge people $100 a month to watch it. Who gets hurt in that, right? It's us, right? It's the fandom. We get hurt because we end up having to foot that bill, right? Because the streamer's not going to lose money. They're not going to lose money on the amount they spend. They're going to try to make profit on their media deal. And so the end game has to be a different way to carve up sports rights. It has to be a different model than what we're doing now. And maybe it's just all ad driven. Like I just wrote a column for Stream Media Magazine, which is about why ads are good for television. I think all streaming services should charge subscriptions and charge you ad and send you ads, because that's what we're used to. That's the way it should be. There's so much money being left on the table, and ads get good content. So if you can spend more money on your sports rights and fill the ads so that you're actually making money, and then maybe you drop the subscription price a little. You're still making a subscription, but you drop it some, so consumers are now happier. More people are watching it. Ad CPMs go up. All this money's being made, but the consumer, the viewer, is not getting pinched by it. Like, so the end goal for me is like the model's got to change. It can't be what we're doing right now. It doesn't work.
But let's use the Apple Plus example, right? So Apple Plus, they do this MLS deal. Somebody is saying in chat that the double paywall, yeah, awesome, totally. They're picking it up on both ends of that deal. But also now all of a sudden as a consumer, I want to watch MLS, but I'm an Android user, right? I can't get the app. So now I have to put my app on Android and Windows and all the other set-top, OTT boxes and platforms out there, smart TVs, etc. Now all of a sudden I'm cannibalizing my own hardware business because I'm no longer selling Apple TVs because there's no longer a specific reason to go buy that specific device, because now all of a sudden the ecosystem is proliferated across multiple device empires, and I can choose where I want to watch it, which is not necessarily a bad thing. That's good for the consumer. But again, it's kind of like, how do you now subsidize the hardware build, design, upkeep of that ecosystem?
I would say hardware is loss leader anyway. Apple, Amazon, all they're trying to do is get you in the ecosystem. Like, so Amazon gets you in the ecosystem. They would give that stuff away just to get you to subscribe to Prime, because they know when you subscribe to Prime, you're going to buy more stuff. Apple, same thing. Yep. Get in our ecosystem. Yeah. You're now attached to us. Your phone, your Apple TV, your computer, this, that. Like, you're never going to leave. You're sucked into the ecosystem.
But at some point, they're going to stop making that little hardware device.
Yeah, why? Exactly. But yeah, that's the point. Why? Like, Apple did a deal with Samsung, right? The Apple TV is now on Samsung. It's on a bunch of other TVs now too. Why do I need an Apple TV?
Well, get out of the hardware business.
It is kind of a nice box. I do like it, but still, why do I need it?
Joe, same question to you. What's the end game? Where are we headed? Where is this going? What's the answer? Maybe there isn't an answer, but in your opinion, where are we going? What's the solution?
I think, I don't know if, again, it's a solution, but I think it's to what we were talking about before. I think you're going to continue to see a wider diversification of players in live sports. I don't think we're going back to where we were previously. Now, how some of these different streaming platforms are bundled and how in some ways maybe they mirror what a cable bundle used to be, sure, I think we can see some of that, but you're only going to see more platforms, more non-traditional platforms involved in this game. You're only going to see more unique ways of these things being packaged. And, I do think from a consumer standpoint, there's going to be some adaptation, which is not crazy. I mean, you're turning things over generationally into more millennials and Gen Z and different people who are now the primary sports consumers. So you're going to see some pivot. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And I think over time, it will become more of the normal to have this many stakeholders moving around and being involved and looking at different ways of distributing it. It's not going to be what it was previously. I don't think we're going to end up going backwards to a previous distribution model.
I would agree with you on some of that, but I would also look at there's some of the streaming deals recently, like Venue Sports. Let's look at that case study, and as crazy as that thing turned out to be, everybody's suing each other because everybody's afraid that their business is going to get cannibalized. But then they turned out and played it as the best way they could, and was like, okay, well, we'll settle the lawsuit. How is this pile of cash for the company, and we'll just call it a day.
Go back to money. Money solves the problem.
How do the consumers win in that particular model?
Because by the company that's suing us.
Yeah, maybe Venue had a better UX and better design experience that actually would keep me engaged on the content instead of just like hitting play and watching a lean back experience.
One of the four, what about the five of us just put in some money? We can all buy what was left over of venue and just to kind of maybe put some like ping pong on there or something, or some weird horse racing or something.
Pickleball.
I got paper tearing. This is the new sport. New sport. New sport right here. Right here. I'm an ape. I just won.
So Neil, question to you. What's the end game? Where are we going? Where's this all headed?
It's very obvious, and I think we all cannot deny the fact that technology will decide what's going to be the end game. But the way things are going right now, I think we will start seeing more of a collaborative partnerships between streamers and broadcasters, because it's right now, as we all agree and we all talked about it, there is a lot of fragmentation, but you will start finding these partnerships like you've got Amazon and NFL, Apple and MLS. In India, the great success story of Star Sports and JioStar. So these are things that will, as long as there is a market out there and there are consumers who are willing to pay for subscriptions and those who are willing to, watch traditional television with lots of ads on it, it is going to actually evolve as we go forward. But I think what we need to keep a close watch on is how does technology drive this adaptation and how soon does it push us from the traditional and the old style to where it's going at this rate.
Moderator, I want to raise another complaint. Sunil is being rational and logical again. Please make him stop being rational and logical. I don't like that at all. This has to be passionate and emotional and devoid of any argument whatsoever.
I read through the entire terms and conditions. I didn't find any of that there. As much
fake news. That's fake. That's fake news. We wrote those.
Fake news. Fake news. Mainstream media. Fake news. Here we go. I knew this was going to go off the rails at some point, but I didn't think it was going to go this far. Anyhow, excellent points being made. How about we do some Q&A? How about that? How about we just do a round robin Q&A? Any questions in the queue? Let's see. I got one question here. Let's throw it out. Do you think that the region where people live affect the high usage of mobile versus those living in the US with more access?
Oh yeah. Yeah, just look at emerging markets. Like again, look at India. So don't have the infrastructure from terrestrial wired bandwidth perspective that the US has, right? So we're going to have higher capacity into homes. So you use what you have really well, and that's like Sunil already said. It's amazing what like Tata and those folks have been able to do in delivering content to smaller devices, like sometimes like 724K per second, like small. It's incredible. So the answer to that is yes, absolutely 100%. And it's amazing how in region they're able to adapt to the capacity they have and deliver an awesome experience using just that.
Yeah. I mean, there's different technologies out there that are benefiting those smaller, more rural markets, right? Where you look at Starlink, you look at other kind of, satellite-based delivery potential. But again, we're reusing some of the old existing ideas about how we traditionally would bring television to the home. That ecosystem, that workflow is now being adapted directly into the mobile handset devices. But I still say the first country to 10G wins.
All right. 10G. Wow. 10G.
10's not enough.
10G.
15G. All right. We got another question here. In contrast to premium streaming potentially harming fandom, can free ad-supported streaming be used to grow fandom, particularly successful for women's sports in the last several years?
I kind of love this idea.
Yeah.
Make it free. Just give it everywhere. Forget geo. Forget media rights. Just give.
We're all on Fast
and subsidize the heck out of it with ads.
Fast is kind of like, I mean, I'd rather look at it as like we're providing digital linear networks for these type of sports opportunities. And you look at the college market is just going bonkers, and you look at even high school. And when you start looking at those regional markets, there's less and less companies that are competing for those broadcasts. So I think that there's a healthy debate and ecosystem that has yet to be talked about, because how much college sports can you actually put out there? So
I think Fast is definitely an untapped market. I think a lot of sports should be moved to Fast. And like you said, Jason, just ad bomb everybody. Ads.
We all know what to do with ads. When we don't want to watch ads, what do? We get up and walk away. We just like, I'm gonna go get a beer. Or now, Thanks. Yeah, I'll just look at my Facebook and stuff. Oh, the ads are done. I can go back to watching.
But there are ads on there too now. There are ads on the internet.
You won't escape. You won't escape the ads, no matter what screen you're looking at.
They're everywhere.
Second
They
screen,
can't
third
get
screen.
Well,
You come up with a
what I'm
fourth
saying is
screen.
you don't go watch it on mobile. You just do something second screen. I'll check my email, check my social. Like I'll just look at pictures, look at TikTok. I'll just watch some videos, and then the sports come back on. I'm like, okay, cool. All right.
What's the last bastion of like ad-free content? Does it even exist anymore? Is there any ad-free content that actually exists?
No.
No. Live. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some public
Netflix.
service is ad free. They have sponsors, not traditional.
They have
traditional
sponsorship.
Those are ads, dude.
But they're still
Sponsorship
ads.
is the alternative to ads. I mean, you won't see ads, but you'll see the mat on WWE Raw look like the Yellow Pages.
That's kind of funny, actually.
So let me ask Steve if we can push the poll. And did we actually win? Did anybody actually win? I mean, in my opinion, a lot of really good opinions were made. Definitely good side, good conversation. Do we really have a winner? I think we're all the winner, or we could all be the loser if we're all paying up the wazoo for pay cable and subscriptions. So maybe
I'm
we're
sorry.
all.
If Corey and I didn't win, I'm lodging a protest because that's just fake news. That's fake, 100%. We won. I'm going to be broadcasting that for like a week. Like we won. Whatever somebody else says, that's just no.
You're going to try that, and then the cord cutter is going to cut you off.
Right, cord cutters. They're going to cut you off.
Savage.
Fake news.
Yeah, have to complain about it to the 13-year-olds in the bar watching the sports in the big
That's
screen.
right.
Right.
Not after I buy him a beer. Still side with me.
There can be a kid section. Some places are progressive that way.
Can we stream
Texas.
SpongeBob? I mean, I'm actually a big fan. My kids are a big fan of the SpongeBob football that Paramount Plus has, and
Oh, yeah.
Disney did the Simpsons
Yeah.
football, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that integration of their IP into sports. I kind of enjoy that aspect of it.
Yeah,
It's
little
kind of
AR
like a
was
gateway
cool.
drug, right? It's a gateway drug.
Right. It's a gateway drug,
And
exactly.
all of a sudden, they peel away the kid layer, and now all of a sudden, they're just addicts, right?
Yeah, you're making new consumers for the next 20 years down the line, right?
Exactly.
Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us. I had a great time. It was a great conversation. Everyone had made some really good points. I want to thank Steve. I want to thank our panelists for taking the time out of their busy schedules and trying to take over the world to be here today. I look forward to the next one. If anybody wants to send me money so I can pay for more streaming services, I'll be happy to accept their money. I take credit cards, check, and cash.
Are you selling your rights to the highest bidder? Is that
I'm
what
going to
you're
sell
doing?
my rights to the highest bidder. And next time you guys see me, I'm going to have ads all over my coat, and I'll be selling out to the highest bidder.
Nice.
Like
Advertise
a NASCAR
everybody.
jacket.
Ad
Yeah,
bomb
exactly.
everybody. Yeah, I'll be like a NASCAR guy. Ad bomb everybody.
All right, and
Uh,
just for the record, if can everybody see the poll results? I can see it from here, but streaming is not hurting sports fandom. Was the
Yay!
so it's
Oh, there you go. There you go.
12-7. Although did not answer was had more than any of them.
That's the wrong question. The debate was about sports rights, not streaming.
Travis.
Protests.
I knew this was going to go off the rails, Steve. I called it.
We're going to be litigating this for years.
100%.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
you're never
everybody.
living this down,
Thanks
Steve.
for joining. I had a great time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys had a good time and enjoyed the conversation. And we'll see you at the next one.
Yeah, and just I got one more bit of
That's
business
fine.
here. Thanks everyone. I just want to announce our gift card winner. The music you heard as we were coming in, of course, was Charles Mingus, Better Get It in Your Soul. And the first person to identify it correctly was Warren Campbell. So congratulations, Warren. And we will see you all back here tomorrow with at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific, for those hardy souls who want to get up that early, with how to meet the challenges of new codec adoption. So thanks again, everyone.
Take it easy.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you all.